Please welcome Aiden Bex to the stage, everybody.
Hello. I want to write a poem of misery and despair, of suffering and sadness, all those unanswered prayers, and that stench of regret as it hangs in the air. I would fill it with pain, laced with death and disease, tales of a hero brought down to his knees, accounts of corruption, malignant disdain, and echoes of madness to drive you insane. But with each attempt, as I focus my might on channeling wrath whilst I'm harnessing spite, that surge of disruption that wells deep inside still fails its eruption, again is denied. With thoughts of a tablet I take every day to stop me from sinking, keep darkness at bay. Well, what can I say? I'm white, middle class, was gendered as male, accomplished achiever, how rarely I fail. Good education, got 3 degrees, university funded with a paid PhD. But what does it mean? Some think that it's special, but it's really not true, when so many out there are capable too, just no hopes to break through. No money, no access, no means of a pass, wrong country, wrong gender, or born the wrong class. Now how can these people expect to advance when the odds are against them, they haven't the chance? So now I'm secure, own my home, good career, with perks and a pension and little to fear. And yet there are tears, they trickle like rain. Though their flow is sincere, how could I complain? About the roof up above or the floor neath my feet when I'm stepping through homeless asleep on the street. Not only right here, but then far and wide, those fleeing from terror, no place to reside. With lives lost in chaos, how could it compare? The poor sanitation, no medical care. Well, aside from these rain clouds, my health isn't flawed. This absence of illness, I feel like a fraud. There are pills that I swallow to curb my depression, but what could I possibly know of oppression? Well, I'm gay, I suppose, so that's one box I fill. But unlike some places, not hunted until I've been captured, tortured, thrown from a roof, or stoned by a crowd, as my personal truth is, my family accepts me. Support that's right there. My friends show no judgment, there's kindness to spare. And still there is angst and it seems so unfair. Now it isn't encouraged to think of one's strife in comparisons made to another one's life, but it gives me perspective, it helps ease the dread, to illustrate much bigger pictures instead. So the next time I'm stressed, I shall think whilst I cry, that sure, I'm depressed, but how lucky am I? Thank you. I thought I'd start with something light and cheery. Okay, so is anyone into body piercings?
Yes.
Yes, lovely. Right, so I've had a few in my time, and I do have one particular favourite, but it did take a while to get used to. So I wrote this next poem not long after having it done. It's called Man Meets Metal. I'm into piercings. They're my latest trait. I think they're great. And although some people hate, feel they can alter one's fate for the worse, or are simply adverse to the notion of putting a pin through the skin, it's a sin. They think it's perverse, but it's diverse, not a curse. So I'm telling you straight, don't get into a state, or even try to debate or coerce. There's so much worse in the way to the universe. So please, don't let this pass. I don't mean to be crass. I'm not trying to show brass, acting like a jackass who likes giving sass. Just wanted to share what I feel is first class, and what better way than to do it en masse than a spoken word poem that no one can surpass. That's the trick. And though I'm sure I got some stick, accused of making you sick, I never thought I'd get such a kick from a piercing so slick as a circle of metal through the end of my dick.
Yeah.
Loop through the meatus and out by the frenulum, as the cock hangs down to swing like a pendulum. An adrenaline trigger, you're forced to succumb. Let out a shriek or a harsh muffled hum when it hooks onto something or presses too hard. Just one tiny movement can catch you off guard. But still, despite my objections, And those rude interjections from nighttime erections, when swelling on swelling and bring my eyes welling with tears for the fear it's been split into sections. I still have an affection, a strong predilection, and almost no retrospection of a time when at night I could easily settle, when to be didn't bite like the sting of a nettle, when a foreskin now tight wasn't chafing on metal, as my penis felt right and was in finest fettle. So why, I hear you cry, were you high? Some cannot believe or even try to conceive why a guy would slip one in the eye to come out on the side of his shaft. Must be daft. Well, no trends have been steered, haven't copied from peers, no relenting through jeers, and there weren't any beers, or even tears, surprisingly. You may not understand that it wasn't planned, no prior demand for metal and clans to meet. What a treat. Just a tiny spot of research beforehand. My head wasn't completely buried in the sand. So forgive this intrusion as I reach my conclusion of the story and glory of a pierced protrusion. I wouldn't want any confusion. I just thought it'd be fun. Probably not for everyone, but surely it's nice to experience life regardless of strife. To take a hold of that dice and just roll, sell your soul. Throw caution to wind and get your knees skinned on the whole. So all to remain is the knowledge to gain, to get it into your brain why on earth one would suffer such pain, with free will, for a thrill, and then complain. Well, these issues shall wane, but trust me, the orgasms are utterly insane. Thank you. Okay, so I'm not all about sex, depression and cock piercings. Last year I did some work for a local HIV charity called the Martin Fisher Foundation and wrote a piece for the latest campaign of making HIV stigma history. I promised them that I'll perform it at every given opportunity, so this is Are You Clean? It's a bright sunny summer's day. I'm home alone, the husband's away, and I'm running a list of the things I could do. Maybe meet up with friends, have a drink or two. I reach for my phone, and there it is sitting so innocently on the screen. The root of all evil, a procrastinator's dream, that familiar orange and black icon. Well, it'd be rude not to at least see who was online. 30 minutes later, and I'm still browsing through profiles. Then, all of a sudden, a familiar sound. My interest piqued, senses abound. Could it be I've received something more than a tap, like a well-written message from an interesting chap? Deftly switching from profiles to inbox, it was a message. Are you clean? That's what it said. Are you clean? That's exactly how the message read. Disgusted to get something quite so absurd, both the question itself and the poor choice of words. In anger, I've started to message him back, to tear off a strip and to launch an attack. I pause, take a breath, change my reply. Well, I always like to have a good wash before I meet a guy, even the tricky bits. Then it came. Don't be smart, you know what I mean. Have you got HIV or are you still clean? Of course, I already knew what it meant, and his arsey reply further marked the extent of his ignorant manner, so loaded with hate. The perfect example to demonstrate that though times have changed and the risks aren't the same, some people still can't get it into their brain, that the problem lies not within HIV but with those who lack knowledge, unable to see. There's plenty of ways of protecting oneself from onward transmission and to stay in good health, yet only too often we're stunned and aghast by these people whose minds are still stuck in the past. Would it matter either way, I ask, with a curious mind, intrigued that his thinking was still so far behind. Ah, so that's a yes then, comes this fella's retort, like he's figured me out with no facts to support his misguided deductions, an imperfect fit. So I leapt on the chance to school him a bit. Not necessarily, but if I had HIV, I'd most likely be treated with a viral load that's then so much depleted that it's deemed undetectable on results of a test, no longer infectious, protecting the rest. And if you've got doubts that my words aren't quite true, then check the campaign label U equals U. On the flip side though, if I made it quite clear that I've no HIV and you've nothing to fear, would that declaration then shape your behaviour on trusting my words? Do me a favour. With just how much faith could you rate my disclosure? Or then would you ask about recent exposure? Surely it's better to not be misled and concern yourself more with your own health instead. Now, I don't mean to lecture, or indeed patronise, but there's one or two things that I'd like to advise. Like first, to get tested, and then once you're sure of your negative status right through to the core, then start using condoms or utilise PrEP. Or think a bit harder and do watch your step. Because messaging people to ask if they're clean is downright disgusting and frankly obscene. Now, I'm sure your intentions were not to cause pain, but words can be hurtful and wound just the same, and the impact on others with what you're suggesting could reinforce stigma and prevent them from testing. So for those of you wondering, how did it all end? Did he still want to play? Did I make a new friend? Well, the simple truth is, no, he blocked me. But maybe one day he'll take time to think back to our message exchange and my gentle attack. He'll finally get what I'm trying to say, reflect on my words and alter his ways. But then even if he continues to be so blinded to knowledge about HIV, I'm proud that I tried to make him see sense, to bring him to task without the pretense. I hope you would too, if ever you're asked. Let's make HIV stigma a thing of the past. Thank you. Okay, so L, G, B, T, Q, U, A, I, P. Is everyone a fan of our crazy long acronym? Yeah? Do we know if we've managed to encompass the entire alphabet yet? I know we've started to double up on a few letters, like Q, which would be great if I was playing Scrabble. But trying to write poetry for a diverse community, it can be a bit tricky. Now, I'm a massive fan of diversity, and obviously it's a much more complex issue than I'm going to give it credit for here, but I do think it's getting a tad bonkers. So this is a piece I wrote about diversity and it's called Being Human. I'm going to throw it out there, though it may seem a bit intrusive. And it's not as if I don't care, I'm not trying to be abusive. Because really, I'm with you, and you're just like me, regardless of your background or your sexuality. This thing I want to tackle, and I'm needing to address, has got me locked in shackles and my mind is in a mess. It's our ever-growing acronym, a most peculiar thing, with countless variations, and it never spells a thing. Now when I was a young'un and was fresh upon the scene, there weren't too many options and with not much in between. I knew I wasn't straight, on that I was quite certain. No plans to seek or take a peek behind a velvet curtain. The L just wasn't plausible. The B still didn't fit. I tried to date some women but was made to feel a tit. The G was when it happened. That's when I felt alive. A slick gay bar, the best by far, it's where I go with pride. Then spending time at uni with some more progressive sorts, threw in a few more letters and a bit of food for thought, like trans and queer and intersex, to mention but a few. Then over time our acronym, it only grew and grew. So years have passed, and now at last we've hit a steady state of multiple divisions which we'll only learn to hate. We've letters upon letters, but when did they all appear? They've got me feeling all mixed up, my thinking less than clear. The L, the G, the B and T, and also Q and plus, with all these new additions, and it's causing quite a fuss. Like which goes where along the line and which ones don't we say? And how and why we best define with what's on trend today. So stop, just for a minute. Let's give it some more thought. Exclusively inclusive, it's the thing I can't support. We've labels upon labels in this alphabetic soup. We spread ourselves too thinly and it's time that we regroup. Because the one important factor and what really makes us strong is this thing we have in common and which shows we all belong. A single handy label which will cover any trait. No need for such divisions whether LGB or straight. So no longer will I identify as a kinky, gay, sometimes leather, cisgendered androsexual with fleeting bisexual tendencies and periods of feeling somewhat asexual. Well, that could be the antidepressants. Instead, I'll present myself as human, and I'll see you as human too. as to identify as human is the simplest thing to do. I'll express my human feelings and I'll share my human dreams. Will hear your human anger and I'll hear your human screams. Together we'll be human, and just what more could we ask as we shed these extra letters and peel off our armoured masks? We'll get used to being human as we take it day by day, and we'll sit in human silence when there's nothing left to say. And I'll appeal to other humans until at last we're all agreed that my identity is human and it's the only one I need. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, so that's enough of the fluffy stuff. Time for something a bit more devilish. Give me a cheer if you like a drink. Yeah! Lovely. Funnily enough, my GP wasn't quite as enthusiastic when I asked him that question. I did have a chat with my GP about my drinking. He thinks I drink too much. Apparently a bottle of wine a day isn't too good for your health after all, despite what you might have read on Facebook. But judgmental GPs aside, I did get this poem out of it, and this is called Daily Drink. It's a disease, he says, a disease of the mind. It's a disorder, and it's dangerous. Again, the doctor dictates, now doubling his drive to dissuade me in my desire to drink. Determined to deftly deliver his directives, he dispatches deductions designed to deter, drilling them deep to demonstrate disapproval of my delinquent ways. Daily drinking is a dangerous disorder. You may have developed a deadly dependency. Did I detect a dash of derision in his delivery, derived from my devilish disclosure of debauchery? Doing his duty as a doctor, no doubt, though dreadfully dramatic with his devastating diagnosis. Was I in denial? Doubtful. Deliberately I dragged my derriere to his domain, displaying my doubts and disclosing, without duress, not devoid of docility or demureness, deciding to declare my dreams of detoxification. Detached, I deliberated the debate, and my doctor's distinctly draconian declarations. Decadent drinking? I didn't disagree, but not dim-wittedly so, or drowning deeply in debt. I do admit to discovering darkness during my days of dreadful depression. Despondent I had drunk, though diligently diverging from downright destruction. I did not depict myself a drunkard. I was only demanding a little direction, a discreet discussion, some do's and don'ts of drinking decorum from a delightfully dashing yet deceptively discerning doctor. How dare he distort my disclosure, so dogmatic with his diabolical dictums, depriving me of my dodgy demonised ideals whilst driving me to distress. With dampened spirits, defiantly, I delve into the depths of my mind, determined to disprove this doctor with the delivery of a definitive and driven address. What's with all the D words? Dickhead. In my defence, I was indeed drunk. Dare I divulge debacles from days of dabbling with drugs? Definitely not. My name's Aiden Bex and I've not drunk alcohol for, well, a good few minutes now, so that's me done. Thank you. Thank you, that is me done. Thank you so much for the lovely audience and thank you for having me on.
Aiden Bex, everyone!